On this week's episode of the Marketing Expedition podcast, we have Laura Ballerini, and she's an accomplished artist who has been running a thriving design boutique for over 20 years. And she's the author of The Green Velvet Chair. The book is a collection of heartfelt stories depicting on how art and design influence our lives. The essays span over Laura's 40 plus years in design in the design industry and are viewed through her unique creative lens. Her discovery, art is not only found in a museum, it appears in music, food, nature, and so much more. We are all artists in our own unique way, and Laura has a degree in visual communications from the Alberta University of the Arts, formerly the Alberta College of Art, and is a recipient of numerous awards throughout her career. Her passion for continuous learning includes regular educational initiatives, and Laura has been running her own design boutique, BluBrown Communications Inc., for over 20 years. BluBrown is named after her two daughters, one with blue eyes and one with brown eyes. The concept was to always look at design through fresh eyes of a child and always asking why. Laura stays on top of the newest trends in print, digital design, and social media with ongoing business, career, and life coaching management and marketing courses, including coaching for performance. Laura completed a number of oral storytelling workshops and found her voice. Laura has honed her writing skill through a variety of courses and workshops, and she is a recipient of numerous awards throughout her career, including a Summit Creative Award and a Webby Award. And she is an avid traveler visiting art galleries all over the world and learning about various cultures, people, and their passions. And she's been intrigued by the power of art and design since she was just a very young child. While she's a quiet and introverted creative, Laura has recently found her inner badass and radiates her quietly fierce disposition in her work and her life. Ballerini lives in Calgary, Alberta, with her husband, two daughters, and a son-in-law, a granddaughter, and a pretentious cat named Gooey. The Green Velvet Chair is Laura's first book. But before we get to her interview, it's time for the marketing essentials moments, the basics that you need to help you build your brand and your bottom line. Today, I want to talk to you about what a creative brief is and does, and the importance of having a document that's used to outline the entire strategy. We do our marketing audits, and then as a result of that, we essentially are preparing a creative brief as to what it is that we're going to do, what the importance of the plan is that we want to accomplish, what our goals are, all of the particulars and requirements, and the brand that we need to follow, all the things that you can think of loud with your agency, or if you're in design, or if you're in a marketing team internally, right? We want to think about how you can use this as a tool to save time down the road when people are asking, is it on brief? Is it going to work? Is it going to be what we want? Is it the objectives, are they getting met? Are we going to have KPIs, kept promise indicators that we're following, or otherwise known as key performance indicators, right? What's the process that we're going to go through? What's the target audience that we're after? What can we do to empathize with them? How do we think about what they're thinking and feeling and doing and saying and hearing? And what is the process that we're going to do? Who's accountable? Who's going to give the requests and approvals and the process? Is it going back to the brief and really identifying what it is that we're wanting to accomplish, when it's going to happen, what is the scope, what are the deliverables, when's the budget, the timeline, the kind of the execution of what's going to get done and who's going to do what, right? And those parameters that we need to follow, or the specs that we need to go by, and make sure that all of the things that we set out to do are getting done. And thinking about, okay, what is it that we're wanting to accomplish? What's the messaging? What are the brand guidelines that we need to take into consideration and follow? What is the core objective that we're wanting to accomplish? And is it hitting the mark? Is it going to work? Is it something that we feel passionately about, that we're going to be invested and motivated and be proud of what we're accomplishing because we're going back to the brief and answering those questions, solving those problems, or whatever it is that we set out to do, right? And so then when we look at that and have that as a way to guide our journey and what we're wanting to do throughout the process, then it's kind of like our roadmap. It's our way to get there. It's, getting to that destination that we so very much need to follow. And then it gets everybody on the same page, right? It's not a huge book. It's not a really long thing. We want to have a brief that's, simple, concise, and just really well written and done and delivered so that we can all follow that map.
Welcome to the Marketing Expedition Podcast, an auditory journey through the latest in marketing, branding, and advertising. Now, here's your Marketing Expedition guide, Ray Allen.
Welcome to the Marketing Expedition Podcast. I'm your host, Ray Allen. I'm the president and CEO of Peppershock Media and the founder of the Marketing Expedition community. And today's guest is Laura Ballerini. Welcome to the show, Laura.
Thank you, Ray. Excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm excited for us to be here too today. It's always a wonderful day, and I love it when my podcast guests are so flexible. So thank you for that today as well.
No problem.
So tell our audience a little bit more about you and what you're up to, and then we'll just kind of dig right in and go through this marketing journey together.
Okay, sounds good. So I'm a graphic designer. I've been in design for many decades now. I got my degree in visual communication, so I'm up in Canada. So I went to the Alberta College of Art and Design, which is now called the Alberta University of the Arts. So I got a degree from there in visual communications, and I've been working in the industry, so advertising, etc., for many, many decades. I've kind of seen a lot of change, and I've kind of evolved through the years. So started out as a print designer, got into digital media, website design, social media marketing, wrote a book recently, and I work with a lot of like videographers, writers, marketers, and that type of thing. So I have a really good virtual team that I work with in various aspects of marketing and communication and design.
So let's share a little bit about some of the projects that you've done and some designs or projects that you've completed that you're like really super proud of.
Okay. Everything I do, I give everything. So like they say, you're only as good as your last project. So I like to make sure my last project is the best that I can do. So I do a lot of website designs. I have a lot of long-term clients, and I'm very proud of those long-term relationships. So we built a lot of trust. We built a lot of success. One of the projects that I work on with one of my long-term clients is a website. They have an e-commerce website. They sell product. We've actually tripled their online revenue over the last couple of years. When COVID first arrived, they were ready to shut down and just ride it out. And it's like, no, you got to stay in front of your audience. I was very kind of proud that we kind of worked through all that, and we actually increased revenues during that time. So that was a real success story, I think, for us. Other clients we've been working with, it's kind of the same thing. It's kind of like, I have to, kind of ramp up my social media. I need to be in front of my audience. I need to let them know I'm still here. Again, they were kind of in the event business, so live events being canceled and postponed and all that kind of stuff. They wanted to keep in front of their audiences, and now they are actually very busy because they've kind of kept that profile. So I see that as a real good success story as well. So just plugging away and keeping in front of your audience and kind of being human and sharing, the journey that we're all on through this COVID experience, which hopefully is coming to an end.
I know, right? Yeah, and you're right, absolutely about that. That's what I kept saying at the beginning is triple down on digital because that's where everyone's at, and the screen time usage was way up, and people listening to podcasts was way up. I mean, and it's still trending that way. I think people have come to lean on being able to use their devices more and more. So I think it's definitely a good sign when you can say that you've helped your clients increase during during an interesting time, where people, of course, the pivot word and like the, the used words that have come to be overused, right? During all that. So what are some of the things, like some of the tactics that you feel that really helped your clients be super successful on, the e-commerce or the projects that you're working on?
Okay, good question. I think it's being consistent. I think it's like posting every day, or maybe not every day, but as regular as possible, and being regular. So whether it's 3 times a day, or sorry, 3 times a week, once every day, it's being consistent. It's having consistent messages, but it's also having kind of a variety so that people aren't kind of getting used to what you're saying and how you're saying it. One thing I've really found through this challenging time is be simple, but yet be bold. And most importantly, be honest. I think people are really in tune with all the challenges in our lives and our neighbors' lives and our families' lives, and I think they can really see through stuff that's not quite genuine. So
Yeah.
I have found being honest, being genuine, being real really comes through, especially obviously in social. So it's people don't really want that sales pitch. They want kind of the genuine, what's your story, what makes you tick, why should I buy your product, how's it going to make me feel? Kind of, it's changed. It's really gotten a lot more sensitive, I guess, that way.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you wholehearted, and be kind, right? Sometimes people can get behind a screen or at their keyboard and kind of lose that civil discourse that we all need and really want to, have shine through, right?
Absolutely. Yes. Yes, there's a lot of frustration and kind of a viciousness out there underlying in a lot of people. And it's kind of, being kind. That's the most important thing I think we can do right now.
Absolutely. So tell me about when you were first starting this industry. What was it that drove you to do what you're doing now?
Good question. So it's interesting. I just finished a book, and it was kind of a self journey, like, where am I going? How did I get here, sort of thing. And one thing that really struck me was I'm quiet and I'm introverted, but that was a strength for me because I work behind the scenes as a creative, and I work to make my clients look good. So I'm kind of quietly working behind the scenes, elevating clients and their products and their offerings and that kind of stuff. So I found that really came out, when kind of in writing this book about just creativity. And it was like, oh yeah, that's really what I offer, is I'm just quietly working in the background really hard, trying to make clients, kind of make them rise.
Yeah, put them in the limelight, really. I love it. I love it. So, okay, let's just talk a little bit more about creativity. I mean, when you have time set aside to come up with the ideas that you come up with, what's your process? What's your creative process? How do you make those big ideas happen?
My process is really, there's no magic wand. There's no, bolt of lightning that hits my creative nerve. It's really working. And I told someone the other day too, that the more I work and the more creativity I kind of work on, the more creative I get. It's almost like a muscle. The more you exercise it, the stronger it gets. And I do find that with my creativity. And I find that crosses many other platforms too. So working with clients, obviously I'm digital, I'm on the computer all the time, but it's spring, Easter's coming. I'm making Ukrainian Easter eggs. So I'm changing, on the weekends, I'm changing my tools and kind of my mindset, but I'm still being creative in different ways. And I find the more, like I say, the more creative work I do, no matter what realm that is, I feel like the ideas just flow, because that muscle, that creative muscle, if you will, is becoming stronger and stronger. And I feel like, it's kind of an exercise that the more you exercise, the stronger that creativity gets. So I don't know if it's really a process. It's just kind of just keep going, just keep doing it.
Yeah. Yeah. So what is your favorite thing to do? Which medium, what platform, what art form, what is your very most favorite thing that you get to do?
Definitely Photoshop's my favorite software. I love it. I have colleagues that are geniuses in Illustrator, and I'm okay in Illustrator, but Photoshop, absolutely love working in there, love working with photography, editing photography to make it look how I want it to look and that type of thing. And I've really learned to content is king. I've always believed content is king. So I can make pretty pictures. And I've even told my clients, I don't do lipstick. I can make things look pretty, but that's not good enough. It actually has to be merged with a message, with words, to actually make that beautiful design that I think I can do, that I usually create in Photoshop. It's merging it with beautiful words that are calls to actions, that are benefits, to an audience and that type of thing. So I'm finding, sure, I can make things look pretty, but that's only half the job. It's really, getting that, merging it with really strong copy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the messaging is just as important. You can have a most beautiful picture, but if it's not the right messaging, then sometimes it's just a flop, right? You have to merge those together. So that's great. Now, do you also do copywriting, or is that left to somebody else to work together on, or how do you go through that process to make that happen?
I'm not, like I say, I just finished a book, but it's a book on creativity and that type of thing. Marketing copy, I don't write. I work with a couple of really good copywriters, marketing people that write it. I like to think I have a little bit of creative direction with the imagery that I have. I'll share that with them and go, I'm thinking this direction or that direction. We talk about it. And I don't, I like to really collaborate. It's like, this is my idea, but I want you to take it and make it better. Make it your idea. You're the writer. You're the genius when it comes to all those words. So I really like to collaborate and get people to make it better than what I originally started with.
And what about, there's always those moments where in, creative work that we do, we fall in love with what we do, and then we take it to a client and they hate it. Talk about the process that you go through to take in critique or feedback, or, how do you take it? What can you do? How do you go through that with the clients that you work with?
Okay, that's an interesting one, because that has been a journey and I think a process for me. So when I first started out many moons ago, I used to cry when the client didn't like it. It was like, oh no, I didn't like it. And then it was like, you know what? This isn't a personal thing. This is business. This is work. So yeah, coming fresh out of art college, you can be oversensitive to your designs. And as I kind of grew and transformed through my career, it was like, you know what? As far as my process, I would anticipate what clients would say. So I put a lot of thought into my design pre-presentation. And to be honest, part of the process was for a website, for example, it used to be design 3 homepages and an inside page, and we'll present it to the client and then we'll show them that. Well, I found that never worked because it always ended up being a combination of this one, and this one. So you ended up doing a 4th or a 5th version with a combination of some of the elements they liked. So I started designing and talking to my clients about how I design in real baby steps, like doing a prototype, but not doing 3 choices, doing 1, and really putting all the energy into that. Going through my notes, I'm a note taker, I listen, I think I'm a good listener. As I'm designing, I go through notes, I double check my notes, I try to really understand the strategy behind the design. Why are we doing this? Who do we need to connect with? What's the message? So I really spent a lot of time developing a strong prototype that kind of rationalizes and answers all the questions that we had with our clients. Mm-hmm. So when I present the designs, but with the design rationale, to say we did this because of this, we felt this because of this, we did this because of these objectives or whatever. So really going through everything, really kind of explaining it. And, of course, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, because you can't also talk your client into liking it. So it's like, sure, I can rationalize it. And I do put a lot of thought into my designs, but for the most part, we nail it, and we nail it early on. And it's because of that, the forethought and kind of the discussions with the team prior to the presentation. So that's kind of my process.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the pre-production portion of it is just as important, if not the most important part, like coming up with the creative brief, understanding, all of the parameters and requirements and restrictions and branding and everything that they, want, and then giving them maybe even what they don't want, or they don't know what they want, right? And sometimes it is not necessarily convincing them, but showing them why you've done what you've done. And sometimes that is definitely a process, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Cloud Campaign helps agencies scale. Like us, we're an agency and we use this for our clients just the same as you could if you're an agency as well. You can onboard more social media clients and charge a higher retainer with leaner teams. It's a powerful all-in-one platform for planning, scheduling, community management, and reporting, all for your agency clients to access. And they have one dashboard to see all of their social media. They can approve all of the posts that you've created, just like we do for our clients at Peppershock Media. This is a tool for agencies to use for your clients. And if you're a potential client, you want your social media managed, then get a hold of us because we can help you do that too. Go to peppershock.com/offers to find out more. So tell me more about the relationship and what happened with why you wanted to write your book, and tell me more about the process that you went through in getting your book done.
Okay. So I started my company about over 20 years ago. And I thought I entered, like I went to a business book writing seminar, and I thought, okay, maybe I can write a book about my business and that type of thing. And writing a book kind of intrigued me, but writing a book about business didn't really intrigue me because I thought there's so many books out there on branding, graphic design, website design. And I didn't think I could really contribute anything unique in that regard. But being a designer for so long, I did end up finding a coach, a book writing coach, but she was more a storytelling coach. And she was more about its stories. Stories are universal. And I thought, okay, maybe I can write stories about art and design in everyday life. So it ended up kind of evolving that way. And I took several workshops with this coach, and it kind of came out that, oh, I can actually tell a good story, and people were resonating with my stories, and they were either laughing or crying or, saying, yeah, I can relate to that type thing. So that's kind of how it was, kind of an accident. It wasn't really on my radar that I was going to write this book on art and design in everyday life, but it kind of evolved, and I kind of got the encouragement of my coach and the people in the group. And it was kind of magical because it's like art and design really is everywhere.
Right. Can you just give us maybe a small slice of one of those stories that you told? Not everything, because we got to buy the book, but just give me a little taste. How about?
Okay. There's different it's their essays. So it's not a book that's going to be sequential. You can pick up any chapter and read any chapter and what you feel like reading. But one is writing a eulogy for my mother-in-law. I just want to kind of give a depth, and then I'll go into one of the stories. One of them is sewing Halloween costumes for my kids. But the one I want to talk about is seeing my house cat sitting in front of closed blinds at the window. And he just sat there, and he'd sit there day after day looking at these closed blinds. And, being in art college, you learn about perspective and all that kind of stuff. And I thought, what can he possibly see? Why is he sitting in front of those closed blinds day after day? So one day I thought, I'm going to lay down beside him and see what he can see. So he's looking into the backyard, and he can see these slivers of light of the backyard through the blinds looking up, right? So he's looking up into the blinds. So when I laid down beside him, I could see these slivers of the backyard. So I thought, isn't that interesting? And then I started writing the story about perspective. Sometimes the blinds are fully open and we can see full, or we think we can see the full backyard. Sometimes they're closed and we only see slivers of light. And it really came to, with all the social unrest, the world, where we're at today, it kind of just underlined, like, we have to be careful when we make opinions about things unless we have the full story. But if we only have a sliver of the story, we have to be careful, about all how we form our opinion. So it came from the house cat going, oh man, I learned a really kind of important lesson here. And it's about art and design because it's about perspective and seeing things, if they're closer to you, they're sharper, they're more colorful, things in the background are blurry. Like, it kind of takes in perspective, all those lessons we learn in perspective. So.
Oh, I love that. Oh my gosh. And I can just picture the cat just laying there, as cats do. I have a little dog, and my little dog will follow a light around just like cats do. So I swear she's part cat. I don't know. I love that story. That's great. Okay, so I have a lot of listeners who are in the marketing industry, and as you are launching and going through this process, how are you getting your book out there? How are you getting the word out about this title and everything that you're doing to go through this journey?
That's been interesting. I've learned that writing the book is the easy part. Marketing the book is quite a challenge. I actually work with an editor and a publisher out of San Diego. I met her actually through my storytelling coach. They knew each other, so I got the introduction. I love working with her, Kathy Sparrow out of San Diego. So she taught me a lot about communication and the written word and that type of thing. But she's also helped me to launch it and put it on Amazon. But been doing a lot of social media posts and that type of thing. Did a countdown to a free ebook. So kind of those typical things. You want a free campaign where you can download an ebook for a certain period of time. We did that. We actually got quite a few downloads. We were number 21 on the ebook downloads, right behind Matthew McConaughey. So I was pretty proud of that.
Yeah, that's great. Congratulations.
Yeah, well, we're not there anymore, but we were on launch day. So I was very proud of that. So that campaign was really successful. So we kind of got a lot of interest. I did a countdown to, social media posts daily, 4 days left, 3 days left, etc. So try to create some excitement. That worked really well. Now we're doing like my publisher's saying, I'll put the picture of the book and say, not buy the book that blatantly, but a picture of the book and saying, it's out on Amazon now. And she's going, you know what, inspire people with the stories in the book. Don't sell the book per se, inspire people with the stories inside the book. So we've kind of switched that and kind of switched gears and trying to do posts that are more engaging as far as inspiration, hopefully, or just lessons learned, like even through me, what I've learned in my career. So we're trying to shift gears that way, and it's not sell. It's more, let's inspire people, hopefully. Let's tell people what's inside the book that kind of entice them to maybe read it. So we've kind of shifted gears, and this is all new. We've only launched about 6 weeks ago. Okay. So I'm still learning. And, the older I get, the more I learn and the more I realize I don't know that much.
Oh, well, it's good that you're still learning, right? That's the key to keeping a youthful young life is learning every day.
Absolutely.
Okay, a couple more questions and then we'll share how people can get your book. But who are some of the helpers in your life that kind of helped you along the way? What mentors have you had, in all of the journey that you've gone through? Share a little bit about that relationship with them.
Okay. So yeah, I used to work at the Calgary Herald, which is a local newspaper here, and I worked there in the heyday of the newspapers. So it was a very exciting time. I had a boss there who was a real inspiration to me. I worked with him for about 9 years, and then he started a multimedia company. So he saw the future probably wasn't in newspaper. Yeah. He was very, he was very insightful. So he
visionary,
He saw the future being in digital. So I followed him to his multimedia company. We were doing, and I'm dating myself, but we were doing the first websites in the city many, many years ago. Got into multimedia. We were doing CD-ROMs, DVDs, all that kind of stuff. So he inspired me because
when it was called new media.
Absolutely.
I love it.
Yeah. I was a new media artist.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah. So I started there. So he was a huge inspiration for me. And then along the way, of course, I've had many clients have been inspiring to me. I've learned a lot from my clients. And of course, most recently, my storytelling coach. Yeah. She's been a real inspiration for me. Just talking about, back in the caveman days, they sat around a fire and they talked, and whether, they told stories, and stories are universal and they go way back. So I learned a lot about storytelling. So she was a huge inspiration for me. And most importantly, my family, my children. I learned a lot from my 2 girls. They're actually both in marketing and design as well. So it's kind of, I hope I've inspired them a little bit, but I am learning from them every day as well.
I love it. So aside from the book that you've written, of course, everyone's going to read it. What are some things that you read? What are some tools or, podcasts that you listen to, magazines, articles? Like, where are your resources? Where do you get your resources from?
That's a really good question. Of course, I'm reading Matthew McConaughey's book, Green Lights.
Nice, nice.
I love music. I'm inspired by music. So I love memoirs. I just finished Brandy Carlisle's book. I can't remember the name of it. Wild Horses, I think it is. So, I've got a whole stack of memoirs actually in my living room. I love memoirs. I love reading about people's lives and what inspired them, and mostly creative people.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm a big fan of Brandy Carlisle, and, I love Tanya Tucker. I love, people that inspire me and kind of maybe had a rough road or a few challenges along the way. That inspires me. So that's kind of my inspiration. It's not a marketing and design and communication magazines that I'm reading per se, although, I get those in my inbox every day, several times a day, but it's the books that are on my shelf that those are the ones that really inspire me. I think because they're more in depth too. And it's not that 30-second read. It's a 3-week read sort of thing.
Yeah. No, that's great. Okay, so speaking of the book, how do people get it?
Okay, it's on Amazon. And the book is called The Green Velvet Chair, and it's obviously by me. It's Laura Elizabeth Ballerini. You can also get it or information through my website. So in the book, there's a story about badass Ballerini.
All right.
You have to read the book to find out the history, because most people go, Laura, I know you're not a badass, and it's like, really? Read the book and find out why I'm a badass. So I did do an author website. It's called badass-ballerini.com.
Nice.
So you can go there and check that out. And then the email there is laura@badass-ballerini.com.
Excellent. All right. Any last thoughts for our audience today that you would like to share with them? Any words of inspiration or motivation or something that you'd like to share?
Well, I usually leave kind of with 3 thoughts. One is really appreciate the art and design around us every day. I mean, I know your audience is marketing, communication designers, that kind of realm. But even people that aren't in the creative industry, it's going for a walk and seeing nature and seeing how blue the sky is and how green the trees are. And, it's that kind of thing. It's just appreciating art and design is everywhere. Secondly, I think it's obviously finding your own creative outlet. We're all gifted. If you read about history and famous people, Einstein was a gifted musician. Louis Pasteur was a painter, but they weren't known for being a painter or musician. They were known for their brilliant minds in mathematics and physics and medicine and all that. So I think it's really taking that creative energy that we have and applying it to creative solutions, no matter what that is. So I really do think it's being creative in all ways, in many different ways. And finally, I just, nurture your inner badass.
Yeah, I love it.
I'm like I say, quiet and kind of understated, but it's not riding a motorcycle and wearing a bandana. It's really about standing up to the bullies. It's about having the confidence to say, yes, I can do it, when everybody says, I don't think you can do it. And it's just losing your ambitions. For me, or my inhibitions. When I was at my daughter's wedding, I just, got on the dance floor and started drinking a bottle of wine with a couple of neighborhood moms, and we drank the red wine. So it's just having fun, right? It's just losing your inhibitions and going, you know what? Let's all nurture our inner badass a little bit.
Yeah, I love it. Well, thank you so much, Laura. I really appreciate having you here today. And I think definitely going to check out the book and encourage everyone to go check it out as well. And for those of you listening, enjoy the journey.
Thanks for listening to the Marketing Expedition podcast. Want to continue the journey? Don't miss out on new episodes. Subscribe on iTunes, Spotify, Amazon Music, or wherever you get your podcasts. Wouldn't it be great if there was one place you can go to get all the latest information and tips about marketing and advertising? The Marketing Expedition community is that place. People like you gather in our online community to build relationships with others and find the latest marketing trends, tactics, tools, and technology. We help you build your brand and your bottom line. Start your adventure today. Visit themarketingexpedition.com to find out more.